Welcome back to another episode of Satisfactory, and we are in experimental update 7. And in the last episode, we did unlock our MK5 Conveyors, which means it is time to turn this base into this new creation of a starter base, where we now have everything running off of MK5 Conveyors. We have all kinds of products and materials all flowing in. We've even brought everything into some centralized storage for us to have easier access to everything that we're doing. So we'll go through and kind of explain everything that got upgraded from the way it was before to how we got to this point now. Alright, first things first is we're going to have to do some reconstruction around here to get everything all right back to the way we were, getting everything manufactured. But we've got to step up our production on everything, because as we start advancing through to making our fused modular frames and the supercomputers and the radio control units, we are not going to be producing enough materials out of our starter factory that's here. So this starter factory needs to go through a major overhaul to be able to accommodate that. But we do have MK5 conveyors now. So that means we can transport 780 items per minute, which means we can start playing around a little bit with upgrading and maximizing what we can with our Mark II miners, which I know we're not going to be able to get the 780 items per minute, but we could start merging and combining various conveyors and get them all running at peak performance so that we can get all of the materials here. So, I guess the first things first is we got to start tearing some stuff apart. Alright, there we are. Clean slate. I got to admit, it does pain me a little bit to see this all complete, all this hard work undone, so to make room for new builds as we move on. But it's all in the name of progress, and that's what this game is about, is making yourself more efficient. So with that said, let's get this filled in with new, more improved MK5 factories. So in the time it's taken me to upgrade this base and get it to where we're going, Update 7 went from experimental, now it's on the full early access tree. And also the FICSIT update is out as well too, so that's why you're seeing some GIFs and stuff floating around here. It took me a really long time to be able to get everything here upgraded to where we are today. To the point that I even broke down and I went and installed a couple, basically a few mods on here. Just so that I could kind of speed up the whole process. One of the mods that I added was flying, so now I can fly without having to worry about being next to power and whatnot. I could just cruise around wherever I want. I've also added the mod for the larger inventory, so it was the plus 300 inventory slots, because I was just constantly running back and forth for more materials. So we've got that mod now. And then I did not want to go hunting for slugs, so I grabbed a mod for being able to craft power slugs, as well as I grabbed a mod to be able to craft hard drives. Just because, I mean, I know the idea behind the game is supposed to be exploring and whatnot. That's why the power shards are out there. That's why the crash sites are out there, so you can go get the hard drives. But I was more focused right now on trying to get this upgrade completed. So I added those few mods just to kind of speed up the whole process. And even still, it took me quite a long time to be able to get through this. But let's break it all down into bits and pieces so you can see what all's been done. All right, first things first. Our iron smelting capabilities. We went from using iron smelters before. We are no longer using smelters. I am using the alternate recipe for pure iron ingots. So we set up a stack of refineries out here to be able to make our pure iron ingots. So we've got, I think it's like 2 full lines of 780 items per minute coming into here. All getting smelted out and then crafted into ingot lines. I want to say it's like 12 of these refineries make 780 items per minute. So we've got, what, 1, 2, 3 full lines of ingots going back to the factory now, all off of our refineries here. So this is how we're processing our iron ingots now, rather than using the old smelter system, because we're getting just more iron out of it. Makes us more effective as we're building our base. So what are we doing with this iron? Let's go have a look. So with our iron, we are still coming into our little many-tiered system here. I gotta just plug this little hole here that we've got on the floor. We're still on our many-tiered system. So the first floor here, we have constructors all set up to be able to turn it into iron plate. So all of our iron plate is being manufactured down here. All of these constructors are together looking after that. Then that iron plate is fed in to be able to make our reinforced iron plate. Further up, which way here? Oh, let's turn our flashlight back on so we can see what's going on. So if we look to where our iron plate is, oh yeah, the iron plate comes out this way. This little section here is making our reinforced iron plate. We are combining it with some screws that's happening up above. And then that reinforced iron plate goes on to be able to make other things down the road. We also have our assemblers here making our modular frames. So we have the modular frames all getting done here. Of course, modular frames are a combination of reinforced iron plate and iron rods. Iron rods are being made on the floor up above. Also on this floor, we go into, I believe it's the heavy modular frames here that we're making. We are now making, we got two our manufacturers here that are looking after making our heavy modular frames, giving us a total of 4 heavy modular frames per minute now on our starter factory. So that basically takes care of the first floor. Oh, and then of course we do have our one little limestone node that was right here when we started our factory. Of course, it's now been upgraded to giving us 600 items per minute, because that's what the Mark II miner is capable of doing. And then, of course, we're processing that all into concrete. So one of the big things that's kind of an add-on here is everything that we are making here now is all getting fed back to these storage containers. So as you can see here, we have our iron plate, we have our reinforced iron plate, and our modular frames are right here. So that's basically taking care of that first floor. And I believe concrete is just... Where did I put concrete now? Concrete is... Quickly look through here. Where did I put the concrete? Right here. Here's our concrete. So that's all getting fed in. So if we look now underneath all this, you'll see all the logistics that got put in line to be able to fill those. So we have all of these conveyors basically running through under the floor here that are bringing everything up to be able to load into those containers. So that is handling all of our materials up into our centralized storage. Now, it's not a pretty centralized storage. This, again, is just a starter base. It's nothing that we're going to be living in, you know, permanently in the future. So this is just because I got sick and tired of running around all over gathering up these materials. All right, let's focus on the second floor. All right, here we are on the second floor. We've got more of the iron ingots coming in from our refinery array way off. You can just see it off into the distance there. If I switch over to photo view and zoom in, you can see them off over there. That's where all of our refineries are. That's all coming back here. And then this level is looking after making our iron rods for us. So from here, all the iron rods are then fed into these assemblers. These are making for us our rotors. So we have all of our rotor manufacturing being done, taken care of here on those assemblers. And then, of course, some of those rotors are being used in this section here that's making our smart plating. So we got reinforced plate and rotors combined to be able to make our smart plating. We are making enough of this smart plating for some future things that are going to be coming down the pipe that we need to start building. So that is what's happening here with the second floor. Of course, iron rods that are needed in the lower level for making our modular frames, they all come from down here and end up dropping down and feeding into the assemblers down here for that. let's look at the third floor now. Third floor, like it was before, is 100% dedicated to making our screws. So we are taking our iron ingots. We're running through a crap ton of constructors here. And then from these constructors, they're making our iron rods. We got tons of iron rods coming down here. That then gets fed over to all of these constructors that are making all of our screws. And we've got a lot of constructors here set up looking after our screw assembly. In fact, we have 3 full lines here of 780 items per minute. And I'm using a combination of various load balancers and splitters and smart splitters here to be able to combine up these lines to be able to, make sure that this line's running 780, this line's running 780. The third line is, and then we have a remainder of about 300 items per minute on these. And then, of course, one of those lines is being dedicated back and sent over to our centralized storage, that if we needed to grab a handful of screws, we've got them over there to be able to grab. And then the rest are distributed through the various assembly lines that do require screws throughout our starter base here. So this brings us to the 4th and 5th floors. These are basically combined together because this is our steel manufacturing that we've got going on here. We are still using our foundries here to be able to make our steel ingots. The only difference is I am using an alternate recipe here. This one here is the compacted steel ingot, which is combining compacted coal and iron. Compacted coal. That is all being dealt with over here. So let's go have a look at this new little assembly plant that we have on this side that is full of a bunch of assemblers that are combining coal and sulfur for us to be able to make compacted coal. So all of the compacted coal that we need for being able to make that compacted steel ingots, all is done from that little plant, and it's fed back on a Mark 5 conveyor over to here. Let's grab these presents on the way by. So the reason for that is it takes 22.5 per minute of iron ore and 11.25 per minute of compacted coal to make 37.5 steel ingots. That is how we are taking care of, and of course we are doing that both up on this level and on this level. So then all of our steel ingots that are here on this level, all of these steel ingots are used to be able to make our steel beams. Because then we run from here, this line then feeds back over to this section where we have the constructors, and this is making all of our steel beams. And then from our steel beams, we're kind of going off into a couple of different things here. So first things first is we come over here to be able to make our industrial encased beams. They're all being done off of these assemblers. And then we also have our... What else is using beams down here? Is that the only thing using beams? No, I don't think that is. Let's just double check. Let's follow this line. It runs off this way. It shoots into here. That's making all... I think that might actually be where all... Oh, no. And then, yeah, okay, the beams also come over to here to make our versatile framework. So versatile framework is being combined with modular frames to be able to make those. And then, of course, that all goes back to central storage. So so that takes care of our beam manufacturing. But then on this other floor up here, we've got our the foundries all set up here, making our ingots again. And then those are all being combined up to be able to run through and make our steel pipe. This is all making our steel pipe that we're using. More presents to grab here. Bear with me. If you want to see, like, FICSIT this time around is the identical as it was last year. They didn't make any changes because they were more focused on pushing out Update 7. So they didn't do any changes for FICSIT this year, or Fixmas. If you want to see my Fixmas video, I'm going to put a link on it here. It'll show up in an annotation on the screen there, so you could watch my FICSIT video from last year, or the Fixmas video from last year, and go through all of the various holiday season. We do everything right from the beginning of it, right straight through to be able to get to the Golden Star. So be sure to check that out. So let's continue on here. So our steel pipe, that's all used in a couple of different areas. And that's, of course, down here. We make our automated wiring here through stators. Those stators are made right here, which is taking pipe and copper. So this is where a good portion of our steel pipe is being used, is making up these stators that goes into automated wiring. And then, I'm just trying to think, I think that might be the only place the steel pipe is getting used. I don't know if there's, I don't think I have another line here that's using steel pipe. If I do, we'll see it here in a little bit later on. But that basically takes care of the 5th and 6th floors of this main tower. But iron and steel aren't the only things that we increased in production. Let's look and see what we did with our copper. All right, so here we are. We have our 2 pure copper nodes. We are running them, same thing, through refineries here, making pure copper ingots. These pure copper ingots are all getting manufactured out here. We've got tons of copper that we're getting off of those 2 pure nodes over there with Mark II miners. That's 600 copper per basically branch here of these refineries that are all set up here. And then we merge and combine ingots all the way along here to be able to do various things. So we take this whole half here. This is 1 miner's worth of copper. That is all going back here to make our copper wire and copper cabling. So we have this tower structure that we built where we're combining all of these constructors. And we decided to go real vertical because I was running out of real estate over here. And so we are making copper wire, copper wire, copper wire all the way up on this tower until we get to, I think it's this. Actually, I think it goes all the way to the top of this tower. All of this is manufacturing copper wire. And then, of course, some of it is going off to go into central storage and, of course, being used in various construction things like stators over there to be able to, that will consume some of this copper wire. And then we're taking a chunk of it as well, and we've added this section over here that is our copper cabling. So we have all of our copper cabling is all, actually this isn't all of it. We've got this chunk of copper cabling being made here, and then there's another little chunk of copper cabling over there that's being used in some manufacturing over here. And then we have another one of these little mini towers over on this corner. All of the copper that is coming off of this line here, this is what's all going into making our copper piping. So all of this is for making the copper sheets. We've got reams and reams and reams. I think it works out to about 690 copper sheets per minute is what we're getting off of this. And then, of course, that goes off to central storage and then eventually into the various components that we are crafting. So let's take a little spin now and see, with all of this, we had to make some changes with our power because, of course, we are using a lot more power now. So if we look at one of these little power things, we're using 16, we have the potential of using 16 gigawatts of power. So we've had to make some improvements on our power manufacturing. Let's go look at our various spots where that's changed. All right, first things first, remember we used to have 2 small coal power plants down in this lake. Well, I've pulled them out of the lake and we have now combined them over here with coal power plants running at 600 items per minute being fed into these that are making all, or not all of it. This is, we have 3 separate coal power plants here, as well as this is that other little copper cabling line that I was telling you about. So we're taking copper ingots into here, copper ingots into copper wire, and then that copper wire converted into copper cabling, and that ends up shooting up to be able to make, I want to say it's the automated wire is what we're using this copper wire for, as well as our crystal oscillators as well. Crystal oscillators pull our copper wire from here. So But yeah, this is 2 of our power plants. Of course, with these, we are running the water extractors completely maxed out to 300 cubic meters so that we can get the most water in here with the fewest amount of water extractors. And got it all in nice, neat little pipe structures, pipe manifolds here, to be able to provide all of the water for our coal power plants. But this is only 2 of our coal power plants. Let's go have a look at the other ones. Alright, we're coming in line here. These are our 2 coal power plants that we had over by this waterfall array that is located near where my very first playthrough was, where our starter base was on the first playthrough. So these ones here are now been upgraded to 600 items per minute from the 2 pure nodes of copper that we're feeding from. But there was also a 3rd copper node over here. So we added in another 600 items per minute. Oh, that we have a couple of beans that have just decided that they've made the power plants our home. Alright guys, well I'm glad that you enjoy hanging out on the power plants. But so we now have 3 coal power plants over here that are looking after the majority of our power manufacturing. Now I have a little bit more power manufacturing that's happening over at our oil refinement, but we'll go have a look at that after we have a look at the upgraded aluminum processing facility. So let's take a closer look at this. With the Mark 5 conveyors, we were able to, push our limits here and get some more bauxite flowing down here. So we are now got 5 refineries that are making our alumina solution. And of course, they're also making some silica as well too. Tell you the honest truth here, this silica is just being dumped straight into an awesome sink because I have a separate silica line that I'm bringing to be able to feed in to be able to make the actual aluminum ingots. But alumina solution is flying into here. That then goes into these 3 refineries that are here that are making our scrap aluminum and water. And then we are taking all of the water from here and it is being fed back into these refineries that are making pure copper, mainly just to basically dump that water. We wanted to consume all of the water coming off of this to make sure that there was no backup, because if you ended up filling these water outputs on here, the whole system would shut down. And so we needed to make sure that this wastewater was being used. And so we're utilizing that into making copper ingots. A small portion of these copper ingots are being used in our alclad aluminum sheeting. The majority of it is being dumped into awesome sinks located here. And there's an awesome sink located over here as well. And this sole purpose, aside from making a small amount for making our alclad aluminum sheeting, is to ensure that all of our wastewater is being consumed. Then our scrap aluminum, it shoots off into these foundries combined with silica, of which we have a separate silica line over here. And I actually brought 2 lines of silica over here because eventually when we get to Mark III miners, I want to make sure that we have enough silica to be able to crank this right up to 780 bauxite per minute. But for now, this is how we are cruising along with these. So that's making our aluminum ingots. We're taking our aluminum ingots out of here. We are splitting it. 300 aluminum ingots are going into making our alclad aluminum sheeting, and 300 aluminum ingots are going through in making our aluminum casing. All of this stuff now actually gets fed back via 2 conveyors to our base for central storage. And then, strictly for overflow purposes, we have an awesome sink sitting here and an awesome sink sitting here, so that our aluminum plant never shuts down. It's constantly consuming all of our aluminum ingots. So we never have to worry about any of this system backing up at all. It is working absolutely seamlessly, and really happy with how it turned out. So let's go now to our oil refinery portion of our starter base and see some of the changes that have happened over there. Alright, so our oil extractors here, these were like really crappy oil nodes that are here. So these 2 overclocked with 3 power shards, only produce 150 cubic meters of oil each, so that's 300 from there. And then we have a normal node that's down here that gets us another 300 here that is all getting pumped up and combined to be able to make 600 cubic meters of oil. So this 600 cubic meters of oil, crude oil, is then pumped up into these refineries, of which I want to say I have 20 refineries set up here. 18 of them are making plastic, 2 of them are making rubber, just because our rubber needs are significantly lower than what our plastic needs are. So that is what we've got flowing along this way, and we are actually backed up on our fuel manufacturing. So what is going on here? That should not be stalled like that and sitting at full. I might just have to overclock one of these a little bit just so that we can make sure that everything is getting consumed the way it should be. I'm just going to bump this one up just a tiny bit because we don't want any left over at all. So I'm just going to bump that up to 150%. And then, of course, so yeah, we have all of the plastic is all getting combined, and then it runs through into this smart splitter. If this line is full, then it dumps into the awesome sink and heads off over that way. And then our rubber comes in on the top conveyor. It hits this line, and then it also hits this line for central storage. If that's full, it shoots off into our awesome sink as well and becomes FICSIT coupons, of which we're up to 30 here. And I think I have like 127 sitting in a box over there. So eventually we will start gathering up all of the various trophies that we can get while we're out here as well. So then the heavy oil residue then comes into these refineries here that are making our fuel. That fuel all then comes out and is run off of these fuel generators, which keep all of this relatively running smoothly. I just noticed that these two here were kind of stagnant, but now it seems to be a little bit better. We're not, we're stalled again. And it's because of our heavy oil residue. I think it's just a matter of time for this one to kind of pick up a little bit. Oh, looks like our fuel consumption might be a little bit low too. So we might just go down to this last one here, of which I do have it overclocked, but I might just... I'm going to grab another one of these, and I'm going to overclock it out as well too. We just want to make sure that we have the potential of producing more fuel, or that we have the potential of consuming more fuel than we're making, so that this system never starves out. So there's a little bit of tweaking and balancing that we need to do just to make sure that this system always runs seamlessly. So, but that's our plastic, rubber, and oil power generation. So you can see with all of these power generators we have here now, and all of our new coal power plants, that's generating all of our power needs as of right now. But that leads us into what we'll be dealing with for the next episode. But let's have a look at the last few things here that we needed to upgrade throughout this whole process as we were expanding to Mark 5 conveyors. So one of the big things was our deuterium requirements have significantly climbed up. So we've got, I think it's a total of, what do we got? We got 180 items here, 100 items coming there to combine to be able to give us 780 items per minute of deuterium ore, all working out to be able to make all of our deuterium or our quick wire requirements. All of that quick wire ends up feeding down on these lines here, of which I used to have this dump into an awesome sink, of which I don't have it anymore being dumped that way. I do have a line going to centralized storage so that we have a container that we can go and grab some quick wire if we want. And then that quick wire then feeds into a couple of production lines over here. So let's look at all these production lines that we've got going on. The first things first is a massive improvement in our circuit boards. we're now making a significantly larger amount of circuit boards, as we have, what, 1, 2, I think it's 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 assemblers here now are making our circuit board requirements, of which we have, because everything's basically stalled off of our last little production lines, everything's all full charged, ready to go here, because we're geared up for what's to come. So that's why we've got 9 assemblers here making our circuit boards. These circuit boards are then fed into, some of them are fed into these 2 manufacturers that are making our computers, which we are now combined making 5 computers per minute, because we have 2 assemblers looking after that. And of course, we have various feed lines coming in a much cleaner approach than what I had when the computer manufacturing was kind of sitting right here. Everything's a little bit neatly distributed with some basically kind of bulkheads that we set up around here to be able to move these materials a little easier. So we have, coming into here, we've got our screws, our plastic, our cable, and also our circuit boards. That's making our computers. Computers go to centralized storage, and then look like they're shooting off this way and running into this to make our adaptive control units. So we are consuming 1 computer per minute right now of our 5 that we're making into adaptive control units. Leaves us 4 remaining for future productions that are going to be coming up. And then with the adaptive control units, it's being combined with heavy modular frames and circuit boards. We've got more circuit boards getting fed in this way. And then our automated wiring as well. We are only making one per minute of the adaptive control units. I don't know if we're going to need more than that right off the hop. Maybe in the future, depending on how much we want to dump into Awesome Sinks and how much are required for unlocking the final phase of the space elevator. Next, we have these 2 assemblers sitting here. These are making our AI limiters. So this is a combination of 100 quick wire and 100 quick wire there. So we got 200 quick wire per minute being consumed here, as well as 50 copper sheets per minute to be able to make our 10 total AI limiters per minute, heading off to central storage. And then we have over here, this is our high-speed connectors, which is using another 420 quick wire on this line. And what else? We've got more circuit boards being consumed over here. Another, 7.5 quick circuit boards. And then a bunch more copper cabling being consumed on this side as well, to give us 7.5 high-speed connectors that we're now making off of these 2 assemblers. That pretty much sums up all of our upgrades. The only other thing, trying to think, what have I missed here that we're doing? Oh, that's this little, this add-on here, which was just one assembler kind of tucked off into the corner. This is making our radio control, or sorry, our modular engines. So the modular engines are being manufactured here, and then of course our requirements for the modular engines are greater than what we were making before. We were only making 1 per minute. We are now making 3 per minute, because we have 3 assemblers combining up here to be able to make them. That's why we increased our production of smart plating, where we only had 1 assembler making a smart plating before. We have more now that's producing our smart plate requirements. We've got lots of motors coming in here. And then this is where our rubber feed comes in through, where we only need 30 rubber per minute combined between, I think it's 30. No, it is actually 45 per minute. So we're actually underproducing a little bit on our rubber. I might have to switch back one of those manufacturers, because I believe we're only making about 40 per minute right now. But because based off of our construction area needs, we're backed up and full right now, so I don't think it's overly. Yeah, we're only making a total of 20 per minute of those. So we're making 40. We need 45. I might just switch one of these plastic lines back out to rubber, which will also increase the amount of heavy oil residue that we're making as well too. So we might end up having to add another power plant in, but I could tweak that at another day. But there we are. It took me like a week and a half to get all this built. So that's why it's been so long since I've released an episode. It was a massive reconstruction. The only thing that basically didn't get redone was our space elevator, our hub. Yeah, that's about it. The space elevator and the hub are really the only things that are original from what it was at the beginning of this video. So, yeah, we had a ton of work to do, and it was a week and a half worth of grinding away. I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. I know that it was more of a talking head piece on all of the expansion things. Every once in a while you're playing this game, you have to go through these expansions so that you can keep yourself productive. You just get to a certain point where you're constantly waiting for machines, so you're better off to just reset, build things up as you need it, as you unlock new technologies. The next major milestone for us will be for the Mark III miner, of which that will then increase our productive capabilities, and I believe decrease our power consumption a little bit, because right now we're using 3 power shards in each one of the miners. I think we can knock that down to 1 power shard to be able to get to the full 780 items per minute. So I think our power might actually come down a little bit to be able to produce more materials. Of which at that point, once we get the Mark III miners, I don't anticipate another rebuild of the starter factory. It will be at that point that we start building our permanent end-game factories and layouts and train systems and, drone transportation and truck lines. Like, then we'll start to actually focus on more end-game approach to how you play this game after you've gone through basically and unlocked everything. Because unlocking everything is just a start. Now you get to actually try to play with the idea. And this, ultimately, once we get through our playthrough of the tiers, my goal will be to be able to get all of the trophies. So dumping tons of points into FICSIT coupons so that we can get all of the available trophies out of the Awesome Shop. If we go have a look at the Awesome Shop, let's have a look here. We go to, I think it's FICSIT Special. Of course, I believe we already have the schematic for the little runner. We've all the boombox stuff. We haven't done any of this. And then, of course, we've got the Adequate Pioneer. We could actually get this now. Actually, we could do these two. Or we could just go straight to Satisfactory Pioneering. Get all of these trophies, and then we really start to jump up into the Silver Hog is 50 tickets. The Lizard Doggo is 100 tickets. The Confusing Creature is 200 Mr. Bean on a trophy. And then the Golden Nut, which is 1,000 tickets we need for that. What is our total combined for that? That's 12, 13, 1350, 1450, 500, 550, 570, no, 1,575 tickets. Did I count that right? Yeah, 1,575 tickets that we're going to need in total to be able to get all of these trophies. And then let's add in these other ones. 1575, 85, 15, basically 1590. We may also be able to find more of these if we went traveling around. Because Goat Music Boombox tape, I actually found that tape out traveling around. Some of these tapes are scattered in various locations on the map. So, yeah. With that said, guys, thank you for watching this episode. Reach down, hit the like button. Leave some comments on the video. Let's have a discussion on what you think with the Mark V Conveyor upgrades in here. And what you think I should be working towards. Should I be, trying to combine everything into one massive factory? Or when we go to endgame, should I start spreading it out into various, like this one here, we're starting to spread out into smaller factories located everywhere. I've always thought to You know, what would it be like if we gathered all of the resource nodes in this game? Just how much of everything could we make to dump into awesome things? So that's things for another day. But subscribe. If you are new to the channel, that would be fantastic if you could please subscribe. But 95% of my viewers are not subscribed to my channel, so if you could reach down and hit that subscribe button, that would be greatly appreciated. I'm also available on social media. You can find me at TerrisDWDC, and that's on Instagram and on Twitter, because we all know how fantastic YouTube notifications are. So with that said, guys, you have yourself a good one, and we will see you in the next episode. Goodbye.